You know what we're communicating again and again and again when we commit right now to grow? We communicate again and again with the way we work for justice, the way we work for peace, the way we share our faith. We're saying to people, you matter to God. Did you know that? We have to do something when we hear about what the nature of God is like. We have to respond. And so I want to give you 3 daily actions to help you live into what we learn here in this parable about the purpose of God. Here's three actions. You can do them tomorrow. You can do them today. I would highly recommend you take them and say, I'm going to make these my daily actions. Number 1, you have to claim your identity every day. Every day. You have to figure out what it is that you are going to orient your life around. You dig down at the quantum level and understand the nature of the universe. There's one level deeper than this, but there's the basic building block of everything is an atom. And an atom has a nucleus, and it has protons and neutrons and electrons. And you know what they do? They orbit. They orbit the nucleus. You know what that tells me? That tells me that at the core of how the universe functions is this example that everything orients around something. And so when you claim your identity every day, I am God's son, because that's what the wheat is, it's a person. I am God's daughter. You are making God who you orbit your life around. You're doing it. You just may not be choosing the right thing to orbit around. That might be why things are not working out so well for you in your life. And so God's perspective on you, again, he makes this massive investment in you growing, is that you are his son or his daughter. He wanted you. He planned for you. He cares about you. He put potential. That's what seed is. Seed is potential. He put potential into you. You belong to the owner of the field. That's the message of Jesus. You need to know who it is that you belong to. I think we outgrow that. Like at some point I get mature enough. I don't need to find out who I belong to. Since my kids have been little, my wife and I have repeated the same things to them over and over. We still do it today. And one of the things that we repeat, it's on repeat, is we whisper in their ear, did you know that you belong to me? You're in our family. We love you. Why? Why do we tell them that? Because we need the assurance. You don't get old enough to not need that assurance. There's a cultural myth in our country that you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and if you do that, that means you're somehow a success, and you need nobody. And frankly, if I were your enemy, I would work to convince you that that is what is true. You're on your own. Figure it out. And this is something you have to own, you have to know. There is the longest distance in the world is the 18 inches from the head to the heart. That information that you belong to God has to descend into the heart. How do you do that? You get up in the morning and you claim again your covenant identity as a son of God, as a daughter of God. I am yours and you are mine. I belong to you. I thank you again today that I am yours. You have to claim your identity every day. Second thing is you have to commit now. You have to commit now, right? Sitting in your seat right now. You have to commit to grow. What is the purpose of seed? The purpose of seed is to grow into wheat, to be fruitful. There's this principle in Scripture, it's called the principle of first mention, meaning you can often find out the meaning of a passage by finding the place that it was first mentioned in the Scriptures, and it will provide some commentary on your understanding. And if you were to go look for the first place in the Scriptures that seed is mentioned, you would go all the way back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 11 verses into the opening of the Bible, and you would hear what God intended seed to do. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, there's the word, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds. And it was so. One of God's purposes is to put seed with potential in it into the world. The land produced vegetation, and God saw that it was good. The seed, you, are potential and life. You're meant to grow. You're not meant to stay the same person the rest of your life. You're meant to grow. Here's a simple phrase. You've heard this. Leave it better than you found it. Leave your family better than you found them. Where you work, maybe that you don't agree with what they do, but leave the place better than you found it. Leave your kids better than you found it. Leave your spouse better than you found them. Leave your neighborhood better than you found it. Leave your house better than you found it. Leave it better than you found it. Reshape the world. Here's what happens when the people of God own that they are the wheat. And we're put here to grow. We're put here to be fruitful. Is we do three different things. We work for justice. Micah said, what does the Lord require of you? To do justice and to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God. Why do we do justice? We look at people who are orphans and widows. James says in James chapter 1, he says, the religion that our God considers pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress. That is a statement that was written 2,000 years ago. It has nothing to do with current politics. It has everything to do with the purpose of God. And so the people of God say that's what we're to be about. Anytime there is a place that is an orphan or a widow, someone who cannot help themselves, we will show up and we will do what we can to bring justice to that person, to provide them with what they need. Why? Because we're seed. We're put here to grow. Then we're people of peace. Jesus said that blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons and daughters of God. Meaning we're people of reconciliation, not contention on Facebook. I watched there's been a hubbub in the news this week. I'm not going to make a comment on it, but it's been nuts. And I saw one person that I know made a post, and I know this person. I've heard this person talk. They're not here in this congregation, by the way. I'm not looking at anybody. And they made a post, and they said things on that post that I never would have thought they would have said in person. We're the people of peace. We show up. We're reconcilers. We're bridge builders. That's what we do. Again, has nothing to do with what the current administration is. If you're using that as your benchmark, you have the wrong benchmark. You need the Word of God as your benchmark. So you're a peacemaker and you're a bridge builder. That's what you do. When you grow, you become that kind of person. You grow into that kind of person. Then you become the kind of person who shares your faith. We're the good news people. We show up and we're good news to people when we walk into the room. I'm glad he showed up to this meeting. I'm glad my neighbor pulled up because I love talking to my neighbor and they care about me. You know what we're communicating again and again and again when we commit right now to grow? We communicate again and again with the way we work for justice, the way we work for peace, the way we share our faith. We're saying to people, you matter to God. Did you know that? And so we start to share God's purpose with people. And so God's perspective helps you to see that even if it's in seed form right now, you don't have to despair. You can know what it is that you are meant to become. So if you feel like, well, I'm not doing so great at justice or peace or sharing my faith, I'm not good at any of those things, it's in seed form. The potential is right there. So here's what you're going to do right now. You're going to turn to your neighbor and you're going to say, I'm a seed, but I'm on my way. Can you do that? I'm a seed, but I'm on my way. Then here's the last action, daily action that you and I need to take if we're going to live God's purpose in our life. Number 3 is we have to judge the right person. What does that mean? Jesus tells this story, and he says that there are seeds of wheat, and there are seeds of weeds. And you are one, or you are the other. It's very black and white. So, in other words, you either belong to God or you belong to the devil. There's not a middle ground somewhere. You are in one of those camps. And there is coming a day when everything is going to be reeled, where there is a judgment. Here's how Jesus says it when he's describing the purpose of this parable in verse 41 of chapter 13. He says, as the weeds are pulled up and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. I'll read you a little bit more because that's all that's on the screen. The Son of Man will send out his angels. They'll weed out of his kingdom everything that causes sin and all who do evil. They will throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears, let them hear. The word that's translated hell is a reference to a valley outside of Jerusalem. Gehenna, references the Hinnom Valley. I've got a picture of the modern day Hinnom Valley, and when you see the picture of the modern day Hinnom Valley, you go, well, that's lovely. What's the deal there? Well, this was the place just outside the city of Jerusalem where everyone would take their garbage and their trash. Corpses of dogs, people, trash. There was a constant fire burning. It smelled bad. There was smoke all the time. There was crying because of someone would be there weeping over someone that they had lost. It was just it was a picture of the refuse of the world. And Jesus said, you don't want anything to do with that. And it's a garbage dump. I got a picture here of a garbage dump. You can see that. That's a current garbage dump where these are like this around the world that we're completely unaware of, where children wait for the garbage to show up and then they go scavenge. This was what was happening. And so I found a picture, though, of the current Hinnom Valley in the winter. And I wonder if some of you, I've said this at other times and places, but I wonder if some of you are like, well, you know what, I'd give my life to God because I want to live my life the way I want to live my life, and I'm in charge of my life. I don't really care whose camp I'm in. I'm just going to do my way. Well, Jesus says you're in, well, then okay, then you're a child of the devil. Let's not parse any words. Here's the Hinnom Valley, and it's winter, and it's frozen, and so maybe you've said, you know what, God, I'll give you my life when hell freezes over. In the meantime, who in the parable does the judging? It's not me. It's not you. God is the judge who does the separating. So here's what we have to do. We have to make sure that we have to judge the right person. Who's the right person when you take an eternal perspective on your life? The right person to judge is me, myself. I have no grounds for judging you because I don't see the difference. The weed that was sown, if I showed you a picture of it, looks very similar to wheat. Scholars think it was a seed called darnel, which is actually a poisonous weed, but it looks like you almost can't tell because I can't see everything. I can't see inside you. I don't understand your motives. I don't understand the things that drive you. I don't have that perspective. But you know whose perspective I do have? I have a perspective on me. So I have no grounds for judging you, but I'd better judge me. Better assess where I am in my life. The beautiful message of the gospel is that any point you can change teams.